Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com. I want to thank you for being here today. With me, we're going to be going over another fun hand from a $5,000 buy-in World Series of Poker event. And we pick up Pocket Jacks, which is pretty nice. We make it 750, 2.5 big blinds. Given we are pretty deep stacked, I actually don't mind making it bigger, like 900. I think that's perfectly fine. And usually that's just going to result in you getting more money in the pot with a range that should be in pretty good shape. So I have no problem making it bigger, but whatever, 750 is fine too. A player in the hijack seat calls, and now a tight aggressive player in the big blind makes it 2,700. So, what do we think about this? Well, I think this is usually going to be a pretty strong range. The opponent could be squeezing with a hand like King-8 offsuit, or maybe just re-raising with a big Broadway hand like King-10 offsuit, maybe Queen-Jack offsuit, which I don't think is necessarily bad, and very easily could be the right play. I think if he is going to re-raise, he wants to make it bigger, something like 3,800. When he makes it this size, I should call a lot, and if I should call a lot, well, what should that do to his range? Well, it should make his range much stronger. So if his range actually is strong, well, now it just becomes like all good hands, right? Just a straight linear range of aces, kings, queens, jacks, and ace-king. And against that range, I definitely don't want to re-raise. If the opponent's range does contain a lot of bluffs, I also don't really want to re-raise. So we're going to call in this scenario pretty much every time. I do think the hijack's going to call a lot too, which is not really ideal, but that's fine. This time the hijack folds, so let's discuss that real quick. Which hand should the hijack be calling my preflop raise with, but then fold when he has to put in 2,000 to win a pot that's going to be 8,700? Not much, right? I mean, you'd think his calling range should be good suited connected hands. Very good big cards. If he has like ace-jack offsuit here, he should be 3-betting it. If he has king-jack offsuit, he should be 3-betting it. So should he be folding his like ace-queen preflop? I mean, probably not. So the guy probably just called with some sort of garbage like 10-9 offsuit because he doesn't know what he's doing. If he had 10-9 suited, he should call. If he has ace-5 suited, he should call. Really, when you're getting amazing odds, deep stacked, closing the action in position, it's like, what more do you want, right? This is a pretty nice flop. Opponent now bets 3,500 when I have top set. Okay, so let's go back to those two ranges we just listed, right? If the opponent has aces, kings, queens, not jacks this time, or ace-king, do I want to raise against that? And I think the answer is definitely not, because there are very few bad cards for those hands, and also we really want to let ace-king catch up. So I don't need to raise against that range. What if the opponent has king, queen offsuit, king-10 offsuit, queen-10 offsuit, etc.? Well, all those hands have 4 outs at most, so I also don't want to raise, right? So in this scenario, it does not make sense to raise at all. Even if I had bottom set here, I would not raise. You should always be more inclined to raise with bottom set than top set, just because when you have bottom set, your opponent can have a lot of decent top pairs that can still give you action. But even then, I would not raise, just because if the opponent has garbage, he's drawing dead, or nearly dead. And if he has an overpair, there aren't very many bad cards anyway. And if he has ace-king or ace-queen, I really want him to catch up. Well, catch up to a worse hand. Whenever you are slow playing, you always want to make sure your opponent can catch up to a good, but still second best hand. And that's exactly what we're looking at here. Obviously, maybe queen 10 could get the 9, but one hand out of my opponent's range has 4 outs. I mean, that's fine. He gets 4 outs. Also, I'm not worried about protecting against aces. Some people say, oh, you need to raise so that your opponent doesn't get top set with the aces. Doesn't happen that often, right? And if it does, well, we're going to lose some money. So we call. Turns a 10, queen 9 offsuit gets there. 9-7 suited gets there. But again, I'm not so worried about that. Opponent bets 5,500. Seems like an easy call to me, right? We are just going to call. We're going to raise the river, of course. But we're going to call flop and call turn, because if I raise now and the opponent has ace-king, he's going to fold. And again, some people who are overly afraid may look at this and say, well, ace-king has 4 outs to the nuts. You would hate to lose to that. I mean, yes, we'd hate to lose to that, but notice the odds my opponent's getting. He's putting in 5,500 to win a total pot of, what, 50? So he's not even getting the right price to draw to his 4 outs. And if he does get an ace or a king, 6 of those, then he's going to be on the hook for all of his money anyway. And he may decide to bluff, right? Say I do call and the river's any river really, and he jams all in, then clearly I get to call and he's going to lose then too. So raising does not make sense then. What if he has king-queen? King-queen just picked up some more outs. Well, it had none. Now it has 8, so pretty nice pickup. That said, again, he's only going to get there 20% of the time, roughly, and that's just okay. It's okay. to let your opponent draw to outs, especially if they may be inclined to bluff. Because if ace-queen or king-queen or ace-king is on this river, this opponent, especially if they are a decent tight aggressive player, is going to look at this and realize, all right, this is the bottom of my range. I should at least consider bluffing the bottom of the range, especially when I could be sitting here with a hand like ace-jack, king-jack, queen-jack, maybe 10-9 suited, and then fold to a river jam. So this is a spot where we definitely want to keep our opponent in and give him every opportunity to jam river. Rivers are 2. I have third nuts. Opponent bets 10,000, leaving 3,000 behind. Well, obviously we're not folding. So the question is, do we put the last 3,300 in? And I think that's a pretty clear yes. Interestingly enough, if I do put 3,300 more into a pot that's going to be about 50,000, what should the opponent call with? Well, if he has aces, would I ever go all in with queens here, or kings, or ace-jack? And I think the answer is no. So in this world we currently live in, if we know the hero, Jonathan Little, is competent at poker, he probably should not be jamming with worse hands, right? So if I'm not jamming with worse hands, then those are actually folds from aces, kings, queens. That said, we are starting to live in this world now because of the big blind ante, where people are betting and leaving themselves a very tiny bit of chips, 1 or 2 antes. And they're doing that with a very polarized range, with the intention of folding if they get jammed on. I think we saw Stephen Chidwick do that recently, and in a big high roller tournament in a major spot where he bluffed all but 1 ante. A lot of people didn't get it because they didn't think about the situation, right? In this world we're starting to live in, if we do know people are going to bluff and leave themselves 1 ante and then still fold some tiny portion of the time, then now the big blind needs to call off way more often, right? Because in that scenario, I may actually bluff all in every once in a while. Wouldn't it be sick to raise all in here with something like 10-9 and have the opponent fold queens? That'd be sick. So anyway, getting choked up just thinking about it. All right, this hand's definitely good enough to go all in. Like I said, we lose to queen-9, which is kind of unlikely. 9-7, which is kind of unlikely. And I don't think many people are folding out the value range here. And the value range here is going to be, I don't know, ace-jack or better. That said, how should the opponent have played ace-jack or better? I definitely think he should check the turn if he has aces, kings, queens, ace-jack, king-jack. So whenever the opponent does go bet, bet, bet like this, I expect to see more bluffs and very strong hands like sets of 10s and jack-10 suited, maybe jack-8 suited if he has it. And of course, he could just have those 8 combinations of queen-9 and 9-7 suited that I lose to. That said, I do like all in. If I had a hand like pocket 3s on the river, I would actually call instead, because then my opponent could have all the combinations of 8s, 10s, and jacks. But now I beat the 10s and the 8s, and the opponent could have maybe, I mean, he probably doesn't have 3s, but could. And I'm not worried about nearly as much. So I do call. And the opponent has queens, so we win a very, very nice pot. If I played this hand differently on the flop or the turn, there's a chance we don't get paid. I mean, if I raise the flop, we're probably just going to get paid. If I raise the turn, though, there's a chance the opponent finds a big fold on the river. Or maybe even a big fold on the turn. So by playing it in this manner, we pretty much ensure we get all the money in. And notice here, our opponent did have 6 outs going to the river. So sometimes we get punished. But most of the time, people with overpairs are going to give you their money as long as you don't do anything to make it obviously clear that they are crushed. And we didn't do it this time. So that's going to be it for this hand today for PokerNews.com. Thanks to Poker News for hosting these. If you have any questions, you can always let me know on Twitter at Jonathan Little. I'm always happy to help. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Be nice to someone. And I'll talk to you next time.